What is an advisory board? Basic definition of an advisory board, you have it right there. It's a representative group of customers or partners that are real decision makers, and they meet on an ongoing basis, discuss industry trends, discuss your products, discuss your solutions, improve customer satisfaction. This is the basic definition of an advisory board, but let's talk about the key components of an advisory board. So number one, an advisory board needs to be compelling. It needs to have a significant value proposition to your organization and a significant value proposition to the members. So you actually need to outline right at the beginning, what is the value proposition? Why are you creating the board? What is the reason? Why now? Why are you creating the board for your organization? What's in it for the members? So you need to craft this set of reciprocal value propositions right from the get-go. Takes time. It's kind of a strategic document that needs to happen. But once you do that, run it by your executives. Run it by, if you have an existing board, run it by the members. Get their perspectives on the value propositions. If you're thinking about a new board, go to some of your existing customers that you trust and run it by them and see what they think. That absolutely needs to be in there, a set of value propositions that is very strong, very clear, very concise, and powerful enough to compel people to act. The CAB members needs to be peers of equal stature. So we don't believe in mix and match, right? If Ahmed and Faisal are at a certain level, let's say director level of product management, do not bring in junior product managers into the room. If you're looking for VPs, keep it at the VP level. Whatever level you decide that you're going to keep it at, try to keep that at the same level. The peer exchange is very important. Someone that works as a chief information officer for a small business, let's say a $50 million business, has completely different challenges and scale than a CIO that works for a Fortune 500. I know it's stating the obvious, but many times we see companies mix and match different experiences. You can do it if you do it by design. So sometimes, we work with companies that want to bring the Web 2.0, more advanced thinking, startup mentality. That's different. But if you don't do it by design and you just throw in a bunch of customers together, that's not a best practice. Everyone around the room needs to feel that they're talking to their peers. That's what creates a successful advisory board. We call that the peer exchange. You need to make sure that the advisory board has ongoing management. So it's not a one-off event. We hate the word event in the context of an advisory board. We love events, don't get us wrong. Events are great. But in the context of advisory boards, you'll never catch us use the word event. Why? An event is a one-time event. It's a one-time thing. There's no continuation. It should be a meeting. The face-to-face, it's just a meeting. It's not an event. We never treat it as an event. It's a one meeting in a long spectrum of meetings. We talked about listening, the 80-20 rule. You need to be able to create a platform where the customers speak 80% of the time. Most of the advisory boards that we manage have no PowerPoint. You have 2 days of content, no PowerPoint. None. What you have, session objectives, you have the key questions, you have the areas that needs to be discussed. Everything else needs to be in advance if you want to send the members any advanced materials or preparation. We don't go through 4 hours of product roadmap. We don't do that. It's discussions on what is important. And you create the 80-20 rule by allowing the members to speak to each other around the topics that are most interesting to you. Creating a sense of a shared future. If you're able to create with your customers a sense of a shared future, their future depends on what you're doing with the advisory board, that's when you create magic. If they just come in and just another meeting, who cares? If they feel that whatever they're going to do in the advisory board will be part and parcel of their professional development and will have an impact on their organization, on the organizational future and their own personal future, that's when you create magic with an advisory board. That's when you create that magic engagement. Creating a sense of shared future. What you do is important enough for them to actually dedicate the time to do it. And it needs to be action-oriented. The worst thing that you can do is start an advisory board, get all the data, get all the feedback, and do nothing with it. Don't even start an advisory board if that's what you're doing. And if you do that, just discontinue the advisory board. That's the one thing that customers, think about it, all of us would hate. If someone invites you to a meeting and he puts you in a room for 2 days or a day and a half or a day, and you bring all your perspectives and insights, and then 6 months later or a year later you find out that nothing happened, how would you feel? So it needs to be action-oriented. So 3 levels of advisory boards. The top level is a strategic advisory board. That's when you get a group of senior decision makers, executives, to come in and talk to you about your company strategy, about go-to-market tactics, about pricing, about organizational culture, organizational change, about your partner structure, about mergers and acquisitions. So you get the benefit of getting a senior group of executives sharing with you what needs to happen with your business from a strategic perspective, with the benefit that this is not a board of advisors, like a corporate board of advisors, where you have a legal and fiduciary responsibility, and they have a fiduciary responsibility to their stakeholders, to the shareholders. Over here, you get a group of customers that actually tell you how you should run your business. They validate business decisions that you're making. One of the biggest benefits in a strategic board, they tell you what you shouldn't be doing. It's not always like, oh, you should do A, B, and C. Sometimes they tell you, don't go into that market. This is a decision that can save a company hundreds of millions of dollars. So this is a strategic board. When you run a strategic board, you need to have a certain design elements in place, and we'll review them when we'll talk about the different boards throughout the training. Second level, or second type, is product advisory boards. Here they are focused on specific products or specific platforms, right? It doesn't have to be one single product. It could be an entire platform. But the focus is really on a platform, on a solution, or a product. It's a board that the stated goal is to allow the customers to become part of that strategic roadmap thinking around products and solutions. The third board is around customer satisfaction, net promoter score, ease of doing business with. These type of issues get aggregated in a customer satisfaction type of a board. Yes, we have a question. Yeah.
Can you have a board which has 2 and 3 or mixtures of the 2?
You can have a board, that's a very good question. You can have a board that will have some leakage, so it could be 70% strategic and 30% product. You can have a board that will span all 3. And we see many times companies that start, well, we have a problem with this line of business around net promoter score, around customer satisfaction. Let's get a board together. They'll help us fix the issue. So the board goes on maybe for a year. Let's say it's even successful in achieving its stated objective. And then an executive says, well, guess what? We're trying to enter into a new market. Let's get the board together and talk to them about our strategy, about going into adjacencies and adjacent markets. Guess what? The people that are here, nothing wrong with them, but they are not at the level that can give you strategic guidance on what you should do in your market. They are not. That's a different board altogether. So we see that a lot. Companies start with something and then they try to morph it into something else.
So you're saying that's a bad?
I'm saying that...
A board that does more than one with not...
No, you can do 2, but you know, the most difficult one to do is a strategic board. Right? So if you set up a strategic board and you have some elements of products or maybe some elements of customer satisfaction, that's fine. But if you're trying to start here and then go to the top, that's difficult. If you're trying to get people to your product board, they need to understand your products and solutions, right? People that are on the strategic need to have a general understanding, but they're not going to know the features and functions. The nomenclature, the terminology that you use is very important, and everyone needs to agree on, if you talk about an advisory board, what it is and what it's not. The last slide here before we'll take a break, and then we'll continue. One thing that we're very good at is keeping to the breaks and to the times, is what we call the 3 types of advisory board maturity. Type 1, you have the vendor, put your company in there. Imagine your company is right here is the vendor, and you are talking to the members. These are the types of advisory boards where you have 500 slides, 20 different presenters from your company, and someone comes in and does a 2-hour section on each product or each area or each market or each solution. And the interaction goes from the members to you as a representative of the company. From the members to you. Pretty much one way. Information sharing. A little bit of back and forth with individual members. That's type 1. Type 2 is a little bit better. It's right here. As you can see in type 2, there's a lot more interaction. But again, the interaction is directed back at the vendor. Right? So we don't like when someone is presenting a topic or a session, once they frame up the question, once they frame up the topic or the challenge or the opportunity, we actually ask them to sit back and have a discussion with the members. Why? If someone is standing here all the time, everything is directed to that one particular person. Right? That's type 2. Type 3, the members start to talk to each other. They address each other directly during the meeting. So if they have a specific question or an issue or a challenge or they want to comment, they actually talk to another member. They don't wait for someone to tell them, oh, you can go ahead and talk, or it's your turn to talk. They actually start to do it organically. And we'll talk about ways to encourage it. That's type 3. That's the 80-20 rule, where the members are creating this network of peer exchange. And that's what you should strive for, getting to that level 3, type 3 advisory board.